Hey there, gang. We're going to talk about measurement today. We're going to talk about measuring something called capacity. Capacity is a fancy word for how much something holds. Okay, capacity is how much can you put inside of something. That's what capacity is. Um, your classroom has a capacity. There's only a certain number of kids it can hold. Uh, a toilet bowl has a capacity. It can only hold so much liquid, then it flows over. Capacity is how much can go inside of something. Okay? Um, and we have some basic measurements that we use to measure capacity, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We try to get you more familiar with what those measurements are. Give you something that you can kind of carry around in your head, so that when you're talking about capacity, you have a frame of reference there. All right. I've got 6 basic units for capacity up here on the board. Things that you're probably pretty familiar with. Okay. The biggest unit of capacity that we're going to use is the gallon. Now, this is a gallon container. Okay. You have something in your house that you probably get in gallons all the time. Milk. Okay? That milk container, if you get a big water container, it usually comes in a gallon. You've seen what I'm talking about. Now, sometimes you might think, well, this looks bigger than a milk container. It might look taller. Well, depending on the shape, the containers can change. I was over at my mom's house the other day, and she had this real funky looking milk container. It didn't look like a normal one. It was shaped differently. Still holds a gallon though. Okay? If you make your container thinner, then it's got to get taller to hold the whole gallon. Does that make sense? If you had a big wide container, it's going to get shorter to hold the gallon. Make sense? The wider it gets, the lower it gets, the thinner it is, the taller it has to be. But this is a gallon. That's going to hold the big one. Okay? That's the biggest unit of capacity we're going to use, a gallon. As we get smaller, we get to something called a quart. Okay? A quart. Quart. Now, in your kitchen cabinet, you might have a container that's a peanut butter jar. Okay? A peanut butter jar usually holds about a quart. Now, it may be a little shorter than this. If it's shorter, it's going to be a little wider. My peanut butter jar is a little bit wider than this, but it's shorter too. Okay? And it holds about a quart. Okay? How many of these do you think it takes to make the gallon? How many of these do you think would fit in here? Now, I know by looking at it, a lot of times kids want to say it's 2, but look how much thinner this is than this one. Look how much thinner this is than that. It would actually take, anybody know? Good, it takes 4 quarts to make a gallon. It takes 4 of these. Put these back. I knew it was going to happen. It takes 4 quarts to make a gallon, and I'm going to write that on there. Okay? It takes 4 quarts to make a gallon. That word quart, okay? A quart comes from the word quarter, okay? Whenever you talk about a quarter, you've heard of quarter, right? Quarter. You've carried one around, right? Well, if you take $1 and you divide $1 into 4 parts, you get a quarter. The word quarter means 1 out of 4, okay? 1 out of 4 means is a quarter of something. So a quart is 1 out of 4 parts that it would take to make a gallon, a quart, all right? The next unit is what we call a pint. It's P-I-N-T. It is not pronounced pint. It's pint. All right? A pint is the next one. You see people walking around with pints all the time. Plastic water bottles that get all crinkly when they're empty. They have the wiggly sides. Okay? Those plastic water bottles, okay, that you can buy at Walmart or Sam's Club or wherever, they are about a pint. Okay? A pint. All right, how many pints do you think it takes to make a quart? Look at this. How many pints do you think it takes to make this? It would only take 2. It takes 2 pints to make a quart. Okay? 2 pints make a quart. 4 quarts make a gallon. All right? And then our last container is this one, and that is the cup. Okay? The cup. A cup is sometimes difficult for kids to understand because people throw around the word cup all the time. For example, my coffee cup is right here. It's not a cup at all. It's a coffee mug. Okay? If people use the word mug instead of cup, we might be better off. This is actually a measured cup. I'm sure in your house you got a measuring cup, right? That can actually measure a cup the actual measurement, a cup of flour or a cup of milk, something like that, okay? This is not somebody's coffee cup. This is a measured cup, all right? And a cup is probably going to be closer to like a smaller styrofoam cup that you might have in your house. Most of the things you have in your house are probably going to be bigger than a measured cup, okay? Ask your parents to go into the kitchen and measure out what a cup is, okay? And that way you get an idea of exactly what you're looking at, all right? How many cups do you think it takes to make the pint? It's going to take 2 as well, okay? So when we're trying to remember our measurements there, 2 cups make a pint, 2 pints make a quart, 4 quarts make a gallon. I always tell my kids 2, 2, 4. 2 cups in a pint, 2 pints in a quart, 4 quarts. Remember that quart, quarter, like 4 quarters in a dollar. 4 quarts make a gallon. All right, now I always stick these 2 on there. You don't have to do them in 3rd grade, but I do them anyway because if you're measuring in the kitchen, and that's usually where we do a lot of that measurement stuff, you do use these. If you need things that are smaller than a cup, if you're cooking in the kitchen, you don't necessarily want a cup of chili powder in your food because Chihuahua, you know it would be too hot, right? So you don't want to have that in there. So we use smaller measurements, and we use what we call a tablespoon and a teaspoon. I bet you if you open up your drawer, you have the 2 different spoons in there. There's one that's a little bit bigger, and there's one that's a little smaller. That bigger one is your tablespoon, and that smaller one is your teaspoon, okay? And it takes 3 teaspoons to make a tablespoon, okay? Again, the more you use these, the more you talk about them, the more familiar you get. But I wanted you to have that visual in your head. The gallon, milk jug, a quart, peanut butter jar, water bottle is a pint, and of course that little styrofoam cup is going to be your cup. All right. So now what I want to do is I'm going to give you some things that I'm going to ask you about the capacity of it, how much would it take to fill it, and I'm going to give you some choices. So we want to talk about the choices that we're looking at. So what is the capacity of a bathroom sink? Okay. If we looked at a bathroom sink, what would I'll take you on a little tour. Okay. If I took you back here and we were looking at what's the capacity of this sink, what would this sink hold? Okay. A bathroom sink. Kind of deep, kind of wide, all right? It's a little wider than the containers themselves, so you have to keep that in mind. It may not be real deep, but they are wide, okay? So you have 3 choices. Would the bathroom sink hold 3 cups, 3 of these? Would it hold 3 quarts, 3 of these? Or would the bathroom sink hold 3 gallons, 3 of these? Now I'm talking about filling it up and pouring it in so that it can get wider, okay? What do you think? 3 gallons, 3 quarts, 3 cups. Who says 3 cups? Who says 3 quarts? Who says 3 gallons? Most sinks in a house hold 3 gallons. They hold 3 gallons. Would you have gotten it? Would you have gotten it? Yeah, they do. They hold about 3 gallons. Now, does every sink hold 3 gallons? No. Tell me why. Because some sinks are bigger and some are smaller, right? So there's no guarantees on any of these. All right. All right. Next one. The capacity of a cereal bowl is, and again, do we all have the same size cereal bowls? No. My cereal bowl is gigantic because I really like cereal. A cereal bowl that you have in your cabinet, what might it hold? Okay, so I give you 3 choices. What might fit inside that? 2 gallons. Okay, 2 of those. 2 quarts. 2 of those. 2 cups. Most cereal bowls are going to hold about 2 cups. Okay, most of them are going to hold about 2 cups. All right. Now, they wouldn't mind it. Again, if you eat a gigantic cereal bowl, yours might be bigger. But most cereal bowls are relatively small. Okay. So we're going to use a relatively small unit of measure to measure. Make sense? The smaller the object, probably the smaller of the things we're going to use. All right. Last one that we're going to do, the capacity of a sand pail. If you went to the beach and you had a sand pail with you, okay. There are some sand pails up there. Do you see them up there at the top? They're yellow. Yeah, there are some sand pails up there. That's what I'm talking about. So if you had a sand pail at the beach, what would the capacity, what would that hold? Would it hold 3 gallons, 3 of these? Would it hold 3 quarts? Or would it hold 3 cups? Well, they come in different size sand pails, don't they? Right? 3 cups is going to be kind of small, but they have different size sand pails. Okay? There's a little sand pail that might hold about 3 cups. So sometimes that's true, but I wouldn't have said that for this one. Okay? 3 gallons, that one's going to be gigantic. You're going to have a hard time carrying that one. I would have guessed 3 quarts on this one. But you know what? And there's no need to get upset. But I thought it was this. Because things come in different sizes. It's best if you have a chance to look at the object that you're talking about, and then you make your estimate. Okay? The thing I want you to remember most about this is the real life items that I want you to try to remember. Okay? A gallon. Think of that gallon of milk. Okay? You've seen that. You've held that, I bet. Peanut butter jar. Okay? That bigger peanut butter jar is going to be your quart. A pint, water bottles, you've probably all had a drink from one of those water bottles. They are a pint. Cups, okay, little white styrofoam cups, that's about a cup. Tablespoon, the bigger spoon of your drawer. Teaspoons are the smaller one. Guys, I got a link on your on the page. If you click on the link to the video, there's a page where you can practice some with these things, okay? All right, work hard. I'm proud of you.